Hello everyone, how's Karen and the kids? How's Jeremiah's new job at Pizza Hut? The far right. The very phrase has so many different meanings to different people. For extreme leftists, anyone that disagrees with them. For centrists, Candace Owens. There are many different interpretations of the far right, but what is considered perhaps the most far right movement of the modern age, possibly interchangeable with the term, would be the Groyper movement. Groypers on paper don't sound that awful. Tight on immigration, anti-globalist, and they mostly brand themselves as populist, Christian, and nationalists. However, on paper and in practice, they are completely different things. In reality, Nick Fuentes, the founder of the movement, seems to be a controlled opposition. He's constantly changed his mind about Trump, multiple times calling for his followers to stop supporting him, sometimes in favor of Democrat candidates, and he doesn't take too kindly to people of specific races.
The mainstream right supports Israel. The sort of fringe mainstream supports Israel. So they want to go into the dissident right and say, we're racist. We're against Hamas and BLM. And it's like, sorry, Shlomo, you forgot one thing. We're also anti-Semitic. We're more anti-Semitic than we're racist.
He tries to rally his followers into this idea that Christianity is superior, and because of this everyone else's religions must fail. For some reason, he has a soft spot for those in the Islamic faith. He also rallied people to go charge the Capitol on January 6th.
Moving towards the Capitol, it appears we are taking the Capitol. Keep marching and don't relent, never relent. Putting down the barriers and disregard the police should live in fear of the American people they have betrayed.
But received absolutely no jail time. In summary, I believe that not only is Fuentes wrong on so much that he says, but intentionally so. But let's take a step back and start from the beginning.
I'm tuning in to CNN to see what they say next. They call me homophobic, but I love gay sex.
To understand the impact that Nick Fuentes has on the far right, let's take a look at the political landscape before the Groyper movement. In the past, there were countless far right factions and groups, some more legitimate than others. Well, they still exist, of course. When I say in the past, we're talking not that long ago, say like 2017. The Ku Klux Klan, the League of the South, and many more decentralized movements and parties were active, mostly in the shadows though. With this came significant infighting, every group fighting for more influence and a spotlight of the mainstream. Federal informants even led some of these organizations. I can't pronounce his last name, bro. I'm just going to put it up screen. So Jeff here, for instance, was famously accused of being a federal informant, and after stepping down from leadership in the National Socialist Movement, he even openly collaborated with the FBI. Enrique Tarrio, the now former leader of the Proud Boys, was a federal informant as well, collaborating with law enforcement as well as the FBI. Then along comes Fuentes. Nick is a man who was groomed from an early age to be a charismatic leader, a cunning man who knows what gains the most traction and what will get people to agree with him. Although Fuentes participated in politics throughout high school, being on the debate team and even being selected to welcome politicians like senators to his school, his real political career started in 2017, his freshman year at Boston University. This was the year when Nick began his America First show with the Right Side Broadcasting Network, a mainstream conservative media company. He was let go later that same year for attending the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. I always find Nick's rise to fame and his shift towards extremism to be very odd and too fast to be organic, considering that just a year prior he supported Ted Cruz of all people, said Trump made borderline racist comments, and generally sounded to the left of Trump, at least socially.
Now, having said that, Donald Trump has served his function. His time is over. It's time for serious candidates. Let the adults talk, Donald. We don't need the exclamatory phrases, the borderline racist remarks. Now we need real candidates.
Or, I should say in rhetoric, he sounded too SJW. I'm not sure his rise to prominence in the dissident right can even be tracked appropriately. I do know he was streaming with Destiny for some time, but I can't quite pinpoint when he took on the leadership position he has now. He somehow successfully united a large portion of the dissident right, enough of them to monopolize the ideas of the dissident right. This blind commitment from his followers allowed him to kick off the first Groyper War, which is interesting because it did have some beneficial outcomes. For instance, it did push Republicans away from foreign funding for wars and made those who do push for foreign funding outcasts in their party. The exception is Israel, of course, but still Republicans were more stingy about foreign aid. Then, in 2020, he endorsed Andrew Yang, a Democrat at the time. Now, I have no feelings against the guy. He seems pretty decent. I looked up what he kind of stands for, and he reminds me in many ways of Elon Musk, with how he seems to look forward to the future. The problem is that the policies he advocates for would suggest Fuentes would never endorse him at all. Pro-choice, pro-LGBTQ, pro-universal basic income, more lax immigration policies. I mean, the guy is almost standard lib level.
Because what it comes down to for me is not so much the universal basic income. You know, he's known for the promise of $1,000 guaranteed every month, no strings attached for everybody. And that's the universal basic income. Everybody's going to have a little bit of extra money every month. I was never really so much in favor of that. I mean, I like that as sort of a meme. That was never the reason I got on board. The reason I got on board, and what I think was very encouraging to see last night, is his platform of human-centered capitalism. This, to me, how people cannot see this as a tremendous opportunity is beyond me. I don't understand what is not clicking for some of these people, that they don't hear this platform, which is incredibly innovative and forward-thinking, and it's everything we've hoped for so long, and they say, no, but he's a Democrat. No, but he's pro-choice. You're Catholic, you can't support somebody who's pro-choice.
Then we jump to January 6th, which I'm told is the most dangerous day for our democracy.
Extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is 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 extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Can you recall those people being arrested, a lot of whom weren't even doing anything violent? Owen Schroyer, today's not a good day for names for me, I guess. Owen Schroyer with InfoWars was famously arrested for just standing outside of the Capitol. Brandon Straka, who was never in the Capitol building and only recorded a video of what was happening, and hundreds of normal people were imprisoned, some of which most likely were following Nick's orders to charge the Capitol.
Moving towards the Capitol, it appears we are taking the Capitol. Keep marching and don't relax, never relax. Break down the barriers and disregard the police. Should live in fear of the American people. They are betrayed over and over.
Nick Fuentes was one of the two people who received absolutely no charges for his efforts to incite actual violence, despite plenty of others who are more innocent receiving charges. Additionally, a firm investigating Bitcoin transactions, Chainalysis, found that on December 8th, a foreign source donated $500,000 in Bitcoin to the dissident right, Nick Fuentes receiving roughly $250,000 the same exact day he committed suicide. The next day, his alleged suicide posted the suicide note online the day after the assassination. Suicide. So, a guy that wasn't even supporting Trump in 2020 gets paid $250,000 to someone that commits suicide that same day he receives the money before they can be questioned or interviewed or anything. That's not suspicious at all. They must be one of the Clinton family's friends. For some reason, they're always suicidal. Now, let's fast forward to 2022. At this point, Nick Fuentes is well aware of his reputation and how extreme his own beliefs are. Trump and Kanye go and have dinner together, and then Nick counter-signals by crashing the dinner party, allowing the media to have a field day with the event. Since Nick Fuentes is indeed a Holocaust-denying, Jew-blaming, and Hitler-worshipping doofus, being close to Trump would make Trump look very, very bad. It's pretty demonstrably true that Nick knew this would be a problem because he condemned others for doing the same thing. Well, same sort of thing, obviously not the same exact thing. Fast forward some more, and in the year of our savior, 2024, Fuentes is anti-Trump right after the Bragg trials. He goes back to being pro-Trump for a small period of time after the first assassination attempt, and right back to anti-Trump, claiming he wants war with Iran, unlimited abortions, and unfiltered immigration worse than Kamala. Nick says this year he's not going to vote for Trump, he's actively convincing Groypers to vote for Kamala, and this is why I believe him to be, if not a Fed, a scummy operative, and dare I say, a rhino. So, with all of this evidence, acting against his alleged nature and counter-signaling Trump, and all but outright endorsing Kamala Harris, and not being chased by the feds for what he did on January 6th, How does he get away with this? Well, just blame the Jews for literally everything. Nick seems to mostly get away with everything for calling anyone who stands as competition to his ideas as one of the following: A, a secret Jew, B, a Jew worshipper, or C, someone funded by Jews. For instance, just recently Nick Fuentes claimed that Sam Hyde of all people is compromised and is being funded by Jews. How does he get to this conclusion? Why are you asking? Are you Jewish or something? Nick Fuentes gets caught with gay pornography? No, you don't understand. That's Mossad. See, even though I believe the Jews control everything, and I had the perfect opportunity to be put in jail for life, they wanted to get me by putting gay pornography on my computer to discredit me. Ugh, pesky Mossad. Unfortunately, because I'm talking about Nick Fuentes, I may or may not be getting Groypers in my comment section trying to defend him by calling me a Zionist or something. Now, just to cover my bases, I'm going to say this. I'm not a Zionist. I think October 7th was evil, but it should not be considered uniquely evil just because of the demographic that was affected by it. I don't believe our tax dollars should be funding both sides of the war like they are now. I believe Netanyahu wants to drag us into war with Iran, which is why he and all our neocon pals are blaming Iran for the Trump assassination attempts. That doesn't mean I endorse Hamas either. I'm just not a fan of innocent people dying in general, whether they be Jews or Palestinians. Additionally, I condemn Judaism and Islam. As I've stated previously, Groypers will defend Nick over anything at all, but I think the following goes deeper than that. It seems that Groypers aren't following Nick's specific beliefs or ideas because Nick doesn't seem to have any actual ideas. He believes in the idea of white replacement, he's this alleged trad-cath Christian nationalist, and yet he has never had a relationship with a woman, and discourages his followers from having relationships with women as well. Hey Fuentes, if you're so worried about the white population, why wouldn't you be encouraging followers to get married and have children and do the same yourself, instead of claiming liking women is gay? If you were an Uber-based Christian nationalist, Nick, why do you constantly lick the boots of Islam? Why are you so scared to criticize Islamic extremists, which have been responsible for plenty of Christian deaths overseas? Why, as a Christian nationalist, turn your followers to vote for Kamala Harris?
In 2028, we're going to get Hitler. Like in 2028, if we get 4 years of Kamala, in 2028, you're going to get an American fascist. People go, you can't vote for Kamala. She's going to be a communist. It's like, and I hope she is, and I hope she does. Because 4 years of that, think about it. 8 years of Obama gave us Trump.
According to Nick, he wants to create an environment similar to the Weimar Republic. The theory is that since fascism was a counter-revolution, Nick is funding the revolution in hopes that he can radicalize someone enough to create the next mustache man. Here's the problem with this reasoning, if we ignore the, mustache man part, and if we're assuming he's being honest. It's cowardly. It's absolutely cowardly, and it's the reason Republicans have been losing as long as they have. Just remember, what we have now was even possible because Republicans throughout the years have made concessions to the progressive machine. As we all know, the left-wing party is full of perpetual progression with no real goal, so nothing will satisfy them. Giving them even more control will only make everyone's lives worse. More lax immigration policy would change the voter demographic if we were living in Nick's ideal world where the Democrats win this election. This isn't even assuming he's lying about his intentions. I must admit that on the surface level, I can imagine how appealing this reasoning would be for Groypers. All of them want the mustache man to return, and at least on the surface, it would make sense to recreate the conditions that saw his rise if their goal is to create another mustache man. However, our society is already so much more radical in degeneracy than the Weimar Republic, so logic dictates that a new mustache man would have been made already, but he hasn't. I'm not sitting here wanting another one to be made. We don't need another dictator. Please don't mistake this for advocating for a better method of doing so. I just like to point out the hypocrisy and the stupidity and the nihilism of Nick, or not nihilism, I suppose inactivity or inaction of Nick's ideology and alleged beliefs. That's it. I'm done. Thank you guys. Sorry it took me so long. Hurricane Helene kinda took me out for a while. I did record an interview with the owner of Project Patriot, but unfortunately the organization shut down about 2 days afterwards, so I had to scrap it. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all later.